The garage door rolled up before the sun had even touched the rooftops. Just that cold, mechanical sound of gears grinding in the silence, and I knew something was wrong. I felt it. Not in a paranoid way, but like how a dog knows before an earthquake. Because no one was supposed to be in there. I hadn't opened it. No one in my family had. And yet, it was open. She was standing there, Jenna Caldwell, our glorious HOA president, clutching her stupid little clipboard like it was some kind of badge of authority, staring into my garage with this smug, victorious look on her face. "You see," she called out, holding up her phone like it was evidence in a murder trial. "This is what I've been talking about. Unauthorized usage of community property, possible commercial activity." I stared at her from my porch, in disbelief, but also not. Because in the back of my mind, I'd known this day was coming. 2 years earlier, I moved into Maple Ridge Estates, just trying to get away from the city noise and find some peace. I'm Eli Turner, 33, software engineer, laid back to a fault, don't like drama. Just want to write code, make coffee, and be left alone. When I bought this place, it felt like a safe space, a cul-de-sac kind of dream. And for a while it was. Until Jenna got reelected as HOA president for a third term. Some say she threatened to fine half the board if they didn't vote her back in. I don't know if that's true, but if you've met her, you believe it. Now, I'll admit, when I converted my garage into a home office, I didn't exactly broadcast it. But I didn't think I had to. I mean, I wasn't putting up neon signs or opening a coffee shop. I just added insulation, soundproofing, a desk, a decent chair. Hell, I even kept the garage door operational in case I needed to, store a car again someday. I read the HOA rules carefully, multiple times. Nothing in there about interior garage conversions being a problem, especially if you weren't altering the outside or using it for a business. But that didn't stop Jenna. The day she saw me carrying in a monitor, she snapped a picture from her Prius, and 24 hours later, I had a violation letter taped to my door. Functional repurposing of garage space without HOA approval, it read. I responded politely. Sent her the bylaws section, highlighted. She doubled down. More letters. More photos. Then came the surprise inspections. She'd show up unannounced, measuring tape in hand like some kind of petty inspector from a low-budget reality show. She cited me for my fence being 2 inches too tall, too. She fined me for a shrub she claimed wasn't on the approved species list. Then, she started saying my house paint wasn't consistent with the visual integrity of the community. I started getting fines like clockwork. $50 here, $75 there. Always with that sanctimonious language, degrading property values, community standards, preserving aesthetic harmony. It was like being slowly nibbled to death by ducks. Then, she escalated. Emails went out to the neighborhood warning of suspected commercial activity at my address. Dramatic language, capital letters, words like illegal operations, zoning concerns, and unusual deliveries. Suddenly, neighbors who used to wave started crossing the street. A few even knocked on my door, awkwardly, asking if I was running a business out of my garage. The loudest sound in there was me typing. But Jenna? She wasn't satisfied. She called a community safety meeting, which I wasn't invited to, and used it to present grainy zoomed-in photos of my garage taken from across the street, like some kind of trial exhibit. "We must protect our neighborhood," she declared, standing in front of 30 people with a laser pointer. Even the friendliest faces can be violators. I wish I was making that up. Then came the community watch group. She asked residents to document all unusual activities at my property, take photos, track car arrivals, monitor deliveries. Some actually did it. I caught one guy crouched behind his hydrangeas, pretending to weed while filming me walk to my mailbox. When I refused to let her inspect my garage interior, because, Fourth Amendment and basic privacy, Jenna used that to fuel her campaign. Innocent people don't refuse inspection, she told everyone at the next meeting. Then she crossed the line. That morning when the garage door opened on its own, that wasn't some glitch. That was her, using what she called a universal override code. Thing is, I designed the damn security system for this community. She didn't know that. Nobody really did. I kept it quiet. But the whole system? That was me. The backend code. The logs. The encryption. The access events. And I'd left a little trapdoor, just in case someone ever tried to exploit it. The second she used that override code, my system recorded it. High-def video. GPS location. time, date, user ID hash, the works. It even sent me a real-time notification. I had her, red-handed, breaking and entering, on camera. But that wasn't all. When I dug deeper into the logs, I found something worse. Jenna had used that code over a dozen times across the neighborhood, accessing other garages, even side doors, when people weren't home. So, I started investigating. Properly. I pulled public records, HOA financial statements, cross-checked expenditures. You wouldn't believe what I found. Tens of thousands of dollars spent on landscape consulting and legal services, no receipts, no invoices, no contracts. Funds being funneled into accounts where Jenna's name, or her sister's, just happened to appear. Then I talked to her husband, Brian Caldwell. I'd seen him around. Quiet guy. Always trailing a few steps behind Jenna like he was trying not to be noticed. I showed him the footage. He went pale. She's been doing this for years, he said. Calls it oversight. Says it's her duty. But I've told her, this isn't legal. This isn't right. He told me more. About forged signatures on HOA documents. About threats she'd made to board members. About how she used HOA funds to hire private attorneys to silence residents. With his help, and statements from other neighbors, Mrs. Landry, who'd been fined for a garden statue she didn't even install, and the Millers, who'd had to repaint their entire house because cream wasn't the right shade of eggshell. I built the case. Then I called a special HOA meeting. I did it by the book, certified notices, quorum requirement, legal timing. Jenna tried to stop it, but I told her, block this. And the HOA regulatory board will get the whole file. The room was packed. She walked in like she owned the place, red blazer, lipstick like war paint, and open with, let's address the repeated infractions committed by Mr. Turner. I cut her off. Actually, Jenna, before you get too far, I have a few things to share. I hooked up my laptop, played the footage, her face on the projector, walking up to my garage, pressing her phone, watching the door slide open like she belonged there. The room went dead quiet. This, I said, is a legal entry. Without permission, without a warrant, without justification. She stammered. As president, I have the right to inspect. No, you don't, I said, flipping to the next slide. Here's the bylaws. Section 14.2. No HOA representative may enter private property without prior consent or court order. No exceptions. Then came the letter from Secure Home Systems, the company she claimed gave her the override code. We have never provided any universal access codes to the Maple Ridge HOA or its representatives. Any claims to the contrary are false and constitute fraud. The color drained from her face. I kept going. Here's a breakdown of HOA funds, $45,000 over the past 18 months, unaccounted for. No invoices. No contracts. Multiple payments to a shell LLC connected to Jenna's maiden name. Neighbors started murmuring. Someone stood up and yelled, "Where's our money, Jenna?" She tried to talk. This is a smear campaign. But no one was buying it. Not when I showed the digital proof. Not when her husband stood up and confirmed everything. Then I dropped the last bombshell. I'm Eli Turner, founder and CTO of Smart Grid Systems, the developer and stakeholder behind Maple Ridge's tech infrastructure. I own a 12.5% legal share in the HOA. I have full rights to audit, access, and act on behalf of resident interests. There was a pause. Then a voice in the back. Let's vote. 29-0. She was out. 3 months later, Jenna was facing criminal charges, fraud, embezzlement, unlawful entry, ordered to repay the funds, banned from any HOA leadership for life. Brian filed for divorce. The HOA was restructured under a new board with real checks and balances. My garage? Still my office. Still soundproof. Only now, people come by, say hi. Sometimes they even bring coffee. You know, I never wanted a fight. I just wanted peace. But when someone weaponizes a clipboard and starts treating people like suspects in their own homes, well, sometimes the quiet guy is the one with the loudest tools. And here's what I learned. Authority doesn't come from titles, threats, or red blazers. It comes from knowing your rights and having the courage to stand up when it matters. So tell me, who was really protecting the community? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever dealt with an HOA nightmare? Would you have done the same? Or walked away? Let's talk. Because stories like this, they're more common than you think.